Good morning, Facebook. I'm going to actually go live on Instagram too because the question came from a person on Instagram. Hopefully I'm able to keep a strong connection. I should have brought my hotspot with me, but I didn't. And I wasn't really planning to go live, but I just waiting on my friend to get here, and I checked my DMs and someone had asked me that question, so I was like, I'll just talk about it. Okay, let's see. I gotta prop this phone up for another way with Instagram. Oops, no, wrong direction. Okay. Good morning, good morning. All right, so I am Dr. Mila Bennett of Adarabella Plastic Surgery and Medical Spa in Johns Creek, Georgia, and I'm also the owner and creator of Pretty RX by Dr. Mila. It's a medical grade skincare brand that helps women be free from makeup if that's what they desire. Our mantra is "My skin is my foundation," and so someone just reached out to me on Instagram and asked me, she literally just said, Dr. Mila, how did you start a skincare line? So I thought that was a good opportunity to share with more than just her. I've spoken about this before, but it's been a long, long time. So instead of saying, oh, go look for my video about that, I just figured I would just talk about it again. Especially since Pretty RX is the 1 year anniversary of the launch of Pretty RX was actually technically a few weeks ago, but I've had so much going on that I never really got to celebrate it or talk about it. I had a lot of plans for the 1 year anniversary, but then life happened and I didn't get to do that stuff. So we'll talk about it now. I came back because that picture of the food on that plate, I wanted it again. And today is my first day off since the middle of December. And so I need to get some stuff done. And so one of my friends who also needs to get some stuff done is meeting me up here, and we're going to sit here and get stuff done. So anyway, how did I start my skincare brand? So I have been in love with skin ever since I was in fellowship. Fellowship is when I got my first, it was an Obagi kit actually. It was an Obagi New Derm kit. Well, when I started my fellowship, the rep came into the office and she gave me this box with this stuff in it, and I started using it, and my face started peeling and I was looking crazy, but I kept going. She warned me that would happen. And when I would go into the rooms to see patients for surgery consults, I would just walk in because my face was peeling, and I would be like, excuse my peeling face, I just started a new skincare routine. And the patients would always be intrigued, and then they would want a kit, and then I started selling all these kits. I was just really good at it. Like, the office was like, no one has ever sold as much skincare as you have. And it was just fun. It was fun to watch the transformation of people's skin. It was fun to watch their confidence be boosted. It was fun to see them come in with less and less makeup. I enjoyed all of it. So when I went into practice, I continued, and I used Obagi products. And then when I moved to Atlanta and started my own practice, I ended up switching over to Dr. Obagi's new line, which was ZO, and they were very excellent products. And people kept saying, you need to start your own skincare line. You need to start your own skincare line. And I was kind of hesitant. Actually, I was extremely hesitant because I didn't want to have a brand and not use it. And his products were so good that I didn't see myself stopping using those. So I kind of put it off. I was like, I know it's going to be expensive to create products that will be equal or better than the Obagi products. The ZO products. So I finally, back in 2017, got into a space where I was like, I need to create revenue that doesn't require my physical hands to do it. And I was like, it's time for me to go ahead and jump out there and start my own skincare line. Because, I feel like I don't care what your job is and how much you make. If you have to physically be somewhere doing something physically to generate revenue, then you're kind of not financially free. So that was my that was my skincare was my thing. So that was the most natural thing for me to do. So I had to just kind of like believe in myself and believe that I could make something good enough, because I was not going to have products that I wasn't using, but I was selling it to other people and using somebody else's stuff. That's not consistent with my spirit and I am really big on integrity and being real and transparent, and I wouldn't have been, that's not something I would have been able to live with. So I had actually been researching companies for probably a few years that could help me develop products. And one of the things that I thought was missing from the ZO regimen was hydration. So like I used to use, he didn't really have like hyaluronic acid serums or stuff like that. The way I'm obsessed with hyaluronic acid is how he's obsessed with retinol. And so he had retinol and everything. And so his products were a little drying, so I always would put my patients on like an additional product for hydration, or like put them on growth factors or hyaluronic acid serum. I will add that to, it would be a complete ZO regimen plus one other thing for hydration, because his products were so strong. So when I started to work on my products, I wanted the hydrate, like that was like a sore spot for me with my skincare regimen. That was something that I would like went crazy on. I mean, with my skincare regimen when I was on ZO, that's something I went crazy on with my products. So a lot of my products have hyaluronic acid in them, like almost everything does. And so I found a company that was in alignment with what I wanted, as far as like they had really good base formulations, and I was able to just kind of tweak some of the stuff. A few of the things I left as they were, and some of the stuff I came up with completely, like it was just, I just kind of started with a company that already thought the way I thought, so it made it a lot easier for me. Because the first like 5 or 6 companies that I went with, they were not, it wasn't bad products or anything. It just didn't have, like, their stuff didn't naturally have the stuff I wanted in it, so I would have had to do way too much to, like, I would literally start from scratch. So once I was happy with the products, then the company also helped with branding and like packaging. And so I started working with the creative people they had there, and they would send me they would do mock-ups. Like, I talked to them about my vision and the type of brand I wanted it to be, and then the colors that I wanted, and then they would send me like a bunch of different options, and then I would be like, I like this from this and this from that. And we kept going. It took a few months, and we ended up with the packaging and the logo and all that kind of stuff. Someone said, how did you find these companies? Google. Everything starts on Google. And you know what's funny? Like, depending on what time of the day you look, you'll get different answers on Google, because the way Google ad spend works, like, one company might let, if their ad budget is $1,000 a month, or they don't have an ad budget, you might not see them. You might not see the company. If a company does have an ad budget, if their ad budget ran out, if you do it on this day, they might not show up. But if you do it a week later, it might. And some of them, there is peak times, and if you're spending more money, you'll show up all day long, where other people may only show up sometimes a day. So check at different times of the day, and you'll see different companies come up. Because every time I searched it, there were some companies that always came up, and then there were some companies that just only came up once. So anytime I saw a company that I was interested in, I would save the link in my notes in my phone so that I could always go back to it, because there was no guarantee that when you Google it, you'll see it again, the way Google Ads work. So it took a few years before I went into this company. I had searched about creating your own medical grade skincare line, or creating your own skincare line, or private label skincare line, or all of these things. I searched everything I could think of for a few years, and I had never seen this company. So it was time, because God showed it to me when it was time. So one other caveat, when I first decided to do it, I actually didn't have the money to get started. And I was on vacation with one of my friends on our annual girls trip, And it was heavy on my spirit that I'm like, I'm working myself to death, literally. I need another revenue stream that will like make me not have to work so physically hard, because it was taxing on me from a health standpoint, doing so much work. So we were talking about it on vacation, and then I get an email literally while we were talking about it. It was kind of eerie. I get an email that says I had gotten this working capital loan like maybe a year prior or something like that, and I was just paying it. I was just paying it. I wasn't even thinking about nothing. And they emailed me and was like, "Oh, you're eligible for $75,000." I was like, "Say what?" I opened up the email and I was like, "Ebony, I can get $75,000 like in the next 48 hours." And she was like, "Mila, are you sure?" I said, "Yes, because I've been sitting here. We've been talking about this for the last 2 days. I woke up this morning and it was heavy. Like, you need to start the skincare line, but you don't have the money to do it." And then this email, first of all, we were in Dominican Republic. Yeah, we were in Dominican Republic. Emails weren't barely coming through on that island. Like, a lot of stuff wasn't coming through. And I got a ton of emails when I got back that had been sent that never showed up until I got back into the States. But this one made it through while we were talking about it, first thing in the morning, when it was heavy on my heart. This email came through saying, "We'll give you $75,000. I was like, skincare. So I emailed the person back, accepted it, and by the time I was home from my trip, the money was in my account. And that's when I hit the ground running, to get started. So there's ways to do it without money too, and I can talk to you about that if you don't have the means to do that. It's a little harder. It might take a little longer, and you got to be a little bit more creative, but you can do it. I won't say without any money, but for way less than $75,000. Like, you can do it for probably a few $1,000s, and just kind of grow and take all the money and put it back into the company. Like, I wasn't spending the money on myself. I still do that even with the Darabella. I take the money and put it back into the growth of the company. Like, that's, I'm living my life, and I'm, living a nice life, but I'm not taking every dime and giving and spending it. I take most of the profit and pour it back into the companies. So I got my, I came up with, we came up with the name, got the packaging, and I established the company, the LLC, and I was planning to launch the first of the year in 2019. And in late in 2018, I get a call from someone who's trying to steal my name. And so I had to basically introduce the products sooner than I had planned on. So I ended up making, that's the post that I put up on the Pretty RX page yesterday. I put the, when I first got my initial shipment of products for me to use and let my beta group use and stuff. It wasn't enough to start selling it. But I had some inventory, a little bit of inventory. And so it was Thanksgiving time, and I was like, well, I got this little bit of inventory, and I had already told people the products were coming. So then people were like, when are the products? When are you going to start selling the products? When are you going to start selling the products? So I decided to have a Black Friday special the Monday or Tuesday before Thanksgiving. I did a live stream, and it's like, y'all, anybody interested in trying to get in the products? You guys want me to have a Black Friday special? We can do a pre-order, and the first 10 people can have their products now, because I got enough products for 10 people. And the rest of you will get your products in the beginning of 2019 in January or February when the full shipment comes or whatever. And everybody was so excited, so I did it. I had a Black Friday special. I made a landing page. I didn't have a website made yet because I wasn't, I was still kind of getting worked on because it was only November and I wasn't planning to launch until my launch party was in February. So I made a landing page on GoDaddy while I was making Thanksgiving dinner on Thanksgiving, and the page went live at 8 o'clock, and then I put the link up, and folks started buying, and I sold like, I can't remember, I think it was like $11,000 or $7,000, something, thousands. I sold in 12 hours because this special was only for Black Friday. I mean, the pre-order was only for Black Friday, and then I turned it off. And I sold like a lot, like thousands and thousands of dollars worth of products. And the first 10 people got their products, and the rest of the people weren't getting their products until 2-3 months later. So that was money to purchase more inventory. That was money to get my website. That was money to, put into the company to get it going. So we got everybody's orders out, I think, by like the beginning of February. And then I've had my launch party February 22nd. And the sales were, we made sales all the time, but it wasn't like a lot, and it wasn't consistent every day. Right. And so my goal with the company was not to sell it in my office. You can get it if you come to my office, but like 75% of the sales are online. To this day, it's like that. So I had to figure out how to get people, aware of the products. And so I started I started kind of watching some of the brands that I admired and seeing some of the stuff that they did with their social media, and started trying to like mimic some of those things. And then, my sales were inconsistent. One month I might make 5,000. One month I might make 10,000. Like it was like kind of up and down. For the first half of the year, from February until, I'll just say from January, even though we weren't selling anything in January. But for the first 6 months of the year, I think I had made like $45,000 or $50,000 in sales. And then I saw a video. I saw this video that somebody who I admire and respect, and she's a friend, and now she's like a mentor to me. I saw something that she did, and I was like, this is exactly what I want to do. Like, she's doing exactly what I want to do, just in a different space. And so I reached out to her and asked her if she would give me a VIP day and help me flush out exactly what I'm supposed to be doing to have consistent sales and build brand loyalty and all that kind of stuff. And so initially she's like, well, I don't do that. And I'm like, well, can you make an exception? And she decided she did. And I flew out to meet with her, and she taught me so much stuff. So I went to meet with her in the middle of July. So I had, like I said, I had made somewhere between $40,000 and $50,000 in sales for the year. And after I met with her, the very next month, the month of August, I made like $38,000 in sales for 1 month, when I had made that, like, so for the 6 weeks following that appointment, from July 16th until September 1st, I had made more in that 6 weeks than I made for the entire first half of the year, just from finding somebody who I saw knew what they were doing and paying them to help me do, instead of me like figuring it out by accident. She helped me do it on purpose. And I made anywhere from $35,000 to $40,000 for 3 months straight. Then I had some stuff going on and kind of slacked off on the things that I was doing with Pretty RX, and I still make $15,000 to $20,000 a month. But you'll in the next few weeks, because things are finally getting back in order, then I'll be back implementing the stuff that she had me doing to get back going. But for the year, I ended up making my gross sales for Pretty RX in 2019 was $148,000. I made my first year. And 75% of them were online sales, people I've never met in person. And I literally just started and learned along the way, and asked for help when I needed it, instead of, pretending like I'm too proud to learn from somebody. I made the investment in learning. And
Can I get you any coffee or juice?
I made the investment in learning, and so that way I could grow. And that's pretty much what I did. That's how I started it. My friend is here, so I'm going to take a couple questions and then I'm going to get off.
Thank you.
Yes, LaShawn, you were one of the 10. You are another friend/mentor that I'm so grateful for. Yeah, Samaya, the advice on that is this video. Like, that's the best advice I can tell you. You just got to start. It doesn't have to be perfect. Doc, why is it so hard for business owners, women entrepreneurs that are successful to share with someone just starting or teach them, I'm running into this, I have ideas, I want to execute all this stuff? Because you need to pay them. I'm down for other women entrepreneurs, but you know, I do these videos and I give a lot of information for free. And I think the biggest problem is everybody wants folks to just hand them stuff. And when I respected that person and I respected her time and I knew she was busy and I know how busy I am. And so I wanted her to focus on me for real. And so I paid her. I didn't ask her to do it for free. And don't make the assumption that because I'm a plastic surgeon, I always got the money, because I don't. Because I'm a big dreamer and I'm always doing something. Last year, I had 2 $40,000 events. 2 of them. My launch party was almost $40,000. And then I did an event at Essence that was $40,000. I don't have money busting out of my ears because I put my money back into my companies. So I don't have, but when it's something that I feel like is going to make me go to the next step, I don't care how much it costs. I find it. I don't think like, oh, I don't have it. I'm like, what do I have that can help me get what I need? What do I have that can help me get what I need? So that's the first step. If you're looking for free information to help you get a whole company off the ground, you'll be looking forever. You have to invest in yourself. If you're not willing to invest in yourself, why am I going to invest my time, which is valuable, in you? And there's so much that you can get off of line. Like, I just shared, I was extremely transparent down to the dollars of what I invested, what I made, like all of this stuff. I'm literally. So if stuff like this isn't enough and you need more information or more hands-on guidance for you specifically, then you have to be prepared to pay somebody. I paid her thousands of dollars and she gave me her day. I was with her for 8 hours. I learned that was the most, I made the money back. I made the money that I spent on her back within 72 hours of having the meeting with her. I made all of it back. And folks were like, you sure you want to spend that much to go? Yes. I hardly ever tell people what I do. The stuff that I do, folks think I'm crazy all the time, and I just don't listen. Ooh, what you get, girl? Ooh, I want that, it was lemon and blueberry.
Lemon blueberry mimosa?
Yeah.
You got some idea for me real quick, too?
Look, y'all, she carded me. I'm 42 years old and getting carded. That's
Oh,
pretty
we did
all
it
right.
because I did it for
No,
her.
that's all right. You ain't got to explain, honey. This is a blessing, girl. See that? I'm 42 getting
I never would
carded.
have thought you were 42, honey.
I'm 42.
My dad always said black don't crack.
Yeah, but it ain't that simple, honey. I work on this again. Pretty RX by Dr. Miley.
I'll be right back, okay?
See, y'all heard it. I ain't fronting. But anyway, you got to be willing to invest in yourself. And so I made that I make all kind of investments that people don't understand. They're like, you're crazy. Don't be spending all that money doing that. And that's why most people, 99% of the people in the world are doing nothing. And it's like 1% of the people that's like taking over. And my goal is to be in that 1%. I don't listen to people telling me not to invest in the growth of my companies. So to answer your question, the biggest problem you might be having is investing in yourself and choosing the right people to make the investment with. Because if you get burned by somebody who sucks, then it's going to make you afraid to make the investment again. I have made investments that I won't say I regret it, but I was like, okay, that was a bust, and I just move on. That was a dud. So I'm not gonna keep throwing money at it and try to make it work because I started, I just cut my losses and keep it moving instead of getting stuck, in that. You got to keep it moving, and you have to believe in yourself. When people ask me if they can pick my brain, thank you.
Do you guys want a few minutes to look over the menu?
I already know what I want. I want that lobster and
City grits?
yes, child.
It's so good.
Girl, I know. I had it yesterday.
Onions, peppers, sausage.
All of it.
bacon.
I want everything.
Don't hold anything back.
Don't hold back.
And for you,
That breakfast yesterday was so good. What was I saying?
You pancakes? Do you want two or just?
I forgot what I was saying. Hold on, let me
Let's
see.
take it to shipping. They can also add a pancake for just
When people ask me, can they pick my brain?
If you want another, I'll add
Or even like something as simple as my consults for my office. People get literally offended that I charge a consultation fee. But I sit on these videos for hours. I have hundreds of videos on Facebook where I give free information about everything related to surgery that you could possibly want to know. That's all I'm doing for free. After that, if you want my time beyond all the information I willingly and freely give and all of my transparency, if you want more of my time, you must pay for it. I'm not a charity, you know what I mean? And pouring into other people is exhausting. It takes energy. It's a lot. You gotta a lot of times help shift mindset, because if a person's mind is not in the right place, it doesn't matter what you tell them to do, they're not gonna do it. And that's why when I got that coaching session from Sassy back in July, she spent zero time on mindset with me. So she was able to give me so much information, and she didn't have to do a lot of explaining, because I understand branding. Like, branding is like runs through my veins. I understand branding and how to create brand magic. I know how to do that. She didn't have to explain that to me. She didn't have to get my head in the right place. She didn't have to do none of that. That work has already been done. I've been doing that work on myself for the last 5 or 6 years. So she was like, we were just going. She was like, okay, do this, do this. And then, like, it was a few things technically on Shopify that she had to teach me, but I'm a freaking surgeon. It didn't take me long. I'm like, oh. I mean, I learned so that day was worth every bit of $100,000. Every bit of it. Every bit of it. And it was worth so much more than I was able to get so much more out of it, because she didn't have to convince me it was gonna work. I wasn't scared. You know, I'm okay if something don't work, and if I take a loss, that's part of growth. That's part of entrepreneurship, and that's the only way I'm gonna become a billionaire, which is what my desire is, to have a $1 billion company. It's the only way I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna fail at some stuff, and I get my butt up and be like, okay, that didn't work. Let's try this. You know, I'm not worried about failing. I'm not worried about what people think. I'm not worried about if people think I'm crazy. I'm not worried about none of that. And some of the stuff, like when I started, it was things that I didn't know I had to do, and in time it presented itself, and I'm like, oh, oops, sorry, I didn't know how to do that. Okay, I'm gonna do it now. Like, you just start. Just start. Quit making excuses and quit listening to people who ain't doing nothing. I have people tell me all the time, you don't listen. It's usually people who are close to me, family members, when they're like, you know, when I'm going through a rough time, or I'm stressed out, or I'm scared, because I have all the same things going through me that goes through everybody else. And people will be like, well, you don't ever listen, Miley. You just don't listen. No, I'm not listening to you, because you ain't doing what I'm trying to do. So how are you going to tell me how to do it? If you ain't never did it, why on earth would I listen to you? I'm listening to the people who did it. So I listen. I just don't listen to the people who have yet to accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish. That's where people mess up. They be listening to the about, that ain't gonna work, you can't do that. Everybody, have you did it? I had a person tell me, you shouldn't be doing XYZ until you got at least $100,000 in the bank saved. I'm like, do you have $100,000 in the bank saved? No. So how the hell you telling me what I ain't supposed to do until I get it? Have you done it? Don't tell me nothing. Don't try to tell me nothing that you ain't did. Period. Quit listening to the peanut gallery, honey. They don't know what they talking about. I made a post a few years ago. They and everybody will ruin your life if you keep listening to them. Stop listening to they and everybody. They don't know what they talking about. Listen to somebody who did it. So I saw somebody who was doing exactly what I wanted to do, what I had envisioned for my brand. And I was like, hey, can you help me And I did everything she said and made more in 6 weeks than I made in 6 months because I did what she said. Right, negative Nancy's need to go. I don't no, I'm not about to X out my family members, but I don't lay on the phone with people for long periods of time or even get into those business type of conversations with them so that they don't have to feel like I'm rejecting their opinion. I don't get into those types of conversations with them if they aren't living what I'm trying to get to as far as my life. I'm not listening to it. Hold on, y'all. I need some sugar in this coffee. So that's the first step. Who are you talking to on a regular basis, and who is also trying to grow in their mindset? You know. Oh my gosh. Beatrice Sanabria asks, how do you deal with the envious and haters that constantly create against you? Create against me? Okay, I'm not sure if you miswrote it or whatever, but I'll just talk about haters and stuff like that. So I have lots of people who despise me. And most of it came from me doing the videos about medical tourism and stuff like that. And they'll spew venom on my stuff, and sometimes I'll clap back. I'm trying to do that less and less because it's pointless. I don't even know who they are, and I'm arguing with them. That's like how the devil tries to distract you from doing what God has you purposed to do. And I'm learning that, so I try to do that less and less. But sometimes I clap back, and then I block them. Some of the envy and hateration comes from in your inner circle, or like people that have real access to you, and that's harder. It's a little harder to ignore them, but I just know that. And it's been, when I did Dr. Phil, I had a lady get so angry with me. She put up it shook me, and I actually got quiet for a while, and I didn't realize that what she did is what made me get quiet until I stopped and I was like, wait a minute, Miley, you let that girl, that's what she was trying to do. She was trying to shut you up, and you shut up. But what happened was, she put up a post on her Insta story, and she has like 40,000 followers. It was a real page. It was a real woman. She was a hairstylist, and she put a still shot like she took a picture of me on the TV when I was on Dr. Phil, and she put a finger like this, emoji like finger up to my temple like this, and then it was like an explosion coming out the tip of the finger. And she acted like she was pointing out the fact that I had on gray contacts. I'm transparent about everything. Yes, I have lashes and I have gray contacts. So, right? So she said something about me bringing up race, because in that segment I did bring up race, because I felt like what was happening with the deaths and stuff, poor black women were being targeted, and I was a poor black woman for the majority of my life. So I felt like she was targeting me, my family members, my friends, my cousins, all of that stuff. And I mean, I felt like that's who was being targeted with this whole thing. And so she put that thing up to my head with that like firecracker coming out of it. And I was like, that looked like somebody's blowing my brains out, right? And when I saw it, it literally like it shook me to my core. It scared me. And I was like, how could you be so evil to a person you don't even know? How could you be so brainwashed that you don't see that I'm trying to help people with what I'm talking about? Like, and it scared me. So I did do a video because she had 40,000 followers, right? And she was in Atlanta, and so I'm sure we got follower overlap, and she literally tagged me in it and all of that stuff, right? So I did a video in response to it to explain where I was coming from. And so people started putting in the comments, tagging her, saying, I think you misunderstood what she said, right? But I stopped talking. And then when I was on the Mel Robbins show after Dr. Phil, I didn't really promote it because I didn't want to be attacked. That attack scared me. I was like, how could you hate somebody that much that you've never even met? You know, it just. So sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it does shake you up. People think you're not human, just because a person is strong doesn't mean that they're not human and they don't feel things. And I never wish ill on anybody. I pray for that woman because she has some serious issues that she needs to work through to have that much hate in her heart for a person she doesn't know who's trying to save lives. Like my intention, people who come to my office, they'll tell you, like, I talk people out of surgery. I deny people surgery if they're going through something. I sat in a room with a lady the other night who had come. She came from out of town to get surgery, and I sat and I've been working like a dog. That's why I haven't been going live. And I was tired, and I had a long day, and she was last, and I could see pain in her eyes. And I sat there with that woman until 9:45 at night, counseling her.
I just brought extra because there was...
Or 8:45. It was 3 hours. I got into her room at 5:45, and me and her left my office at 9. I didn't get home till almost 10 o'clock. I picked my kids up. They were asleep. I picked them up and took them. They were asleep. I sat there and poured into that woman and help her see where the issues that she was having was in her, and you got to get a hold on this before you destroy your family. And when she left, she was like, I feel so much better, da da da. And the next day when I saw her for her surgery, she was smiling and happy, and like that's the type of person I am. I'm not like I gotta go. I was taken away from my children to pour into this woman, and this lady is sitting on there acting like I'm trying to hurt people. My intentions are never bad. I never do anything with ill intent, ever. So haters and the way I look at it now, like since I started my Bible study group, we've been meeting religiously every Sunday, and we help each other because we're all like highly successful leaders and influential people, and we want to be responsible with our influence, and we recognize the pain that we had in ourselves, and we recognize the pain in other people, and we're trying to like sort through all that stuff so that we can come up with a way to help other people be set free from and I don't know if anybody saw that post I put up last night about childhood thing. You see things in childhood. Some people, not everybody, they endure things and suffer through things in their childhood, and it's never addressed. No one sits down and says, baby, that was wrong what you saw. Or they're violated and they don't have a safe space to share it, and so they bottle it up and they come up with these defense mechanisms to get through. Like, it's like survival, right? But then they grow up and they never heal or grow or mature in that area of their life, and it ends up permeating everything, and it affects all your relationships. And then the next thing you know, your kid has the same problems, and you're like, how did that happen when I did so much trying to prevent it? But you weren't preventing it because you weren't healed yourself. You couldn't prevent it. You can't even see it. And so the stuff just keeps going over and over again, and then everybody starts screaming and hollering at the adult that's messed up. But that adult was a kid before, who was unaddressed, who didn't get the healing, who didn't have a safe space to grow. And so we got these adults children walking around in adult bodies, tearing up the world and messing up the next generation. That's what's happening. I don't know how I got on that. Oh, the haters. Yeah, so anyway, when I realized that she was trying to silence it wasn't her trying to silence me. Actually, it wasn't her. The lady who put that evil post up, it wasn't her. It was the devil using her to silence me. And it worked for a minute. And then I'm like, So I recognize now that I'm not fighting people and haters and all of that other stuff. It's the devil. He uses all of us. As he's used me before. Like, we don't know it. But if you're being discouraging to somebody who's trying to do something, if you say mean things to a person you love because you're hurting, that's the devil using you to help break up your family. That's what that is.
Pretty good guys, though?
Mm-hmm. Once I realized the devil was using me too, everything changed. I was like, okay, devil, I'm not letting him use me. No, he uses all of us if we're not paying attention. And even with me having the awareness, that revelation was in November, right? November. Once I realized that I was also being used sometimes, I was like, I'm not gonna let him use me no more. Once I was aware, I'm able to be. It's easier for me to control myself now. I didn't got some folks together. Don't get me wrong. A few times since then, because I'm human. My name is not Jesus, but I reel it in real quick. It's not an ongoing thing in my life anymore. Once I recognized that if you're not paying attention, he is definitely using you. He's using you against yourself. He's using you against your family. He's using you against your kids. He's using you against everything. And if you don't get the healing you need from whatever things you went through, sometimes people will overcompensate in the other direction with their children, which is also bad. Anything in excess is bad. Yeah. Anything in excess is bad. And so you got to look at yourself and be aware of who we're actually fighting against. I'm not fighting haters. I'm fighting dark spirits and Satan and his game. That's who I'm fighting. And that lady is probably not a bad person at heart. She probably something I said struck a chord, and so a lot of times, like Nene, in the words of Nene Leakes, the hit dog gon' holler. I said something that struck a chord with something that she ain't healed from. And so she took it out on me, but it wasn't really about me. You know what I'm saying? So, right. So I'm aware of how the devil moves, and I'm studying it all the time so that it can stay in the front of my mind, so I can try to keep him from being able to destroy my purpose and destroy what God wants me to do on this earth. So this has nothing to do with wickedness in heavenly places. Yes. This has nothing to do with starting a skincare line, but I'm gonna go ahead on and sign off because my Bible study sister is here, and so we got work to do. And you all stay blessed, and if it's something you want to do, just go after it, and try to surround yourself with other people who are trying to do things like that too. And if you would share the video, that would be wonderful. If it's anybody you think that needs to hear it, tag them on it. I think today or tomorrow, my hand cream, my Pretty RX hand cream will be going up on the site, and my body mousse will be going up on the site. So if you're not following Pretty RX, definitely head on over. On Instagram is Pretty Skin RX, and on Facebook is @MyPrettyRx. All right, everybody. I will talk to y'all later. Bye.